Hello and welcome into this week's edition of the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Rewind Show right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below and hitting that subscribe button and ringing the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. On today's edition of the Cup Rewind, we're looking back at last night's 61st Annual Federated Auto Parts 400 laps, 300 miles around the three-quarter-mile Richmond Raceway in Richmond, Virginia. Pretty tame for a short track race and a Richmond race in general. Only 3 cautions in this race, 2 of those being the stage breaks. We almost had a caution in stage 1 as some of these guys were breaking up the stages and pitting about halfway and then seeing if they could gain a little bit of track position off the new tires in the second half of the stage. Ricky Stenhouse pulled this strategy in stage number 1, trying to get around Denny Hamlin off of turn number 4. Just had a little bit too much speed trying to get off the corner, gets into the left rear of Denny Hamlin. Almost spins Hamlin around. He goes about halfway around and then saves it, so there was no caution. This kind of forced Denny into the same strategy because he had to change those tires after that. But there was no caution there, and there was no caution in Stage 1 until the end of the stage at lap 100. Martin Truex Jr. picked up the stage victory. Stage 2 ended at lap 200. That was also taken by Martin Truex Jr., the guy that has never won a short track race in his career. The only caution for an incident on the night came at lap 327 when the 96 of Jeffrey Earnhardt blew a tire and got into the wall in turn number 2. 16 lead changes among 8 drivers on the night. Martin Truex Jr. did lead the most laps, 163 of the 400 laps. 92 laps were led by Kyle Busch, 67 went to Brad Keselowski, 40 laps led by Kevin Harvick, 34 laps were led by Chase Elliott. 34 laps led by Chase Elliott. 2 laps led by Ricky Stenhouse. 1 lap apiece went to Eric Almirola and Alex Bowman. Alright, so let's get into your results on the night. Kyle Busch would be your winner on the night. He got around Brad Keselowski late in the race there with about 30-40 laps to go and never gave it up from there. Had a little bit of competition from Kevin Harvick right at the end of the race, but Harvick just couldn't quite get close enough to do anything with Busch in those final laps. So Kyle Busch would pick up his 7th victory of the season, the 50th of his Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series career. He is the 4th youngest driver to make it to 50 career victories at age 33. Only Jeff Gordon, Richard Petty, and Ned Jarrett were able to do it quicker than he did. Kevin Harvick came home in the 2nd position. Martin Truex Jr., after leading the most laps at 163, came home in the 3rd position. Chase Elliott and Eric Almirola, both with strong runs, rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10, a very strong run for Austin Dillon, although I don't know that this helped him that much on the playoff grid. We'll see that here in a moment. Kyle Larson in 7th. Jimmy Johnson with a strong run in 8th, or strong for him this season at least. Brad Keselowski in 9th, and Clint Bowyer rounded out the top 10. As we see here, all playoff drivers in every position in the top 10. A stark contrast to last week in Las Vegas, where most of our playoff contenders got taken out in one wreck or another. 11th through 20th, another couple playoff drivers here at the top of the page. Eric Jones in 11th, Alex Bowman 12th. Joey Logano came home in the 14th position. Denny Hamlin, an off night for him. He has been strong at Richmond in the past, one of his better tracks, but unfortunately, just not a good night for Denny Hamlin. Came home 1 lap off the pace in 16th. Kurt Busch, a bad night for him as well, 2 laps down in 18th. Ryan Blaney, same thing, 2 laps down in 19th. 21st through 30th, some interesting names down here on this page, one of those being Matt Kenseth in the 6 car. Bad night for them all around, 4 laps off the pace there in that 25th position. Cole Custer making another Cup Series start in that 51 car for Rick Ware Racing, came home in 26th. Bubba Wallace there in the 27th position. 31st through 40th, Regan Smith still subbing in for Casey Kane in the 95 car. 6 laps down in the 31st position. All right, so that is your results from the Federated Auto Parts 400. Now let's head over to the Media Center. We'll see what your top finishers on the day had to say after this one.
We were definitely gaining a little bit of ground, but we didn't have enough time to get all the way to him. But our guys did a great job, rebounding after last weekend and doing what we had to do this week to put ourselves in a good position for next week. So solid night.
Given last week, given how you've run here, does it feel, even though it's not the win, still feel pretty good the way you finished?
Yeah, I think we've been top 5, 6 out of the last 8, so 7 out of the last 9 now. It's been a solid racetrack for us, but it's just not. We just haven't had the winning car. The Gibbs cars have been tough to beat here over the last few years, and we just hadn't had the speed that they have had. This time, we had speed and we're able to race right there with them, and so we've been hit or miss here, and tonight was a good night to be good.
So do you feel like tracks owe you one?
If there's one that does, it's here. I can promise you that. Man, I don't know. I just don't know what we got to do to win one of these things. I mean, it's it's awful frustrating, to come here and be so good and lead so many laps and then just find, every single way possible that, just things don't work out for us. It's pretty frustrating, but, at the same time, it feels good to run that good. And we recovered well and, did what we came here to do, which was move on to the next round. So I wish we would have been in victory lane right now, but, in a few days, I guess the pain will go away a little bit, and we'll be able to go to the Roval and have some fun with no pressure.
Feels pretty good. I think I said one or the other, right? Yeah, okay. Obviously, just, it's really good to have the win, to be able to go into next week. I think anytime you can automatically punch your ticket to the next round, that just makes it even better. Being able to come here in Richmond in the fall. Whoever said I didn't win here in the fall race, I got you. We won here now. So, finally, again, I didn't know what was eluding us from being able to win here in the fall, but we were able to get it done tonight. So, it was a handful out there, that's for sure. Car wasn't great early, but once we got some adjustments to it, it really woke up, and car kind of came to us, continuation all night long of the sun going down and just getting better and better, so that was good.
All right, let's take a look at your playoff grid before wrapping up here today. 3 drivers locked into the next round now following the first 2 races in the playoffs. Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch in on wins. Martin Truex Jr. has an 85-point gap on the cutoff line, so ergo he is in on points as he cannot physically fall out with that big of a lead on the cutoff line. So he can go into the Roval doing whatever. He doesn't need to be scared. None of these 3 guys need to be scared of the Roval. The other 13, on the other hand, they're all very scared. Kevin Harvick last night used the word terrified to describe what he's feeling going into the Roval this week because nobody knows what's going to happen in this race. It's been pretty hectic in the testing. There's a lot of places on that track that you mess up just a little bit and it's going to cost you. And the thing is, they've only done single car testing at the Roval. So you put a whole pack of 40 cars in there, nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to happen. It could really spell some dire straits for these playoff drivers. Now, some of these guys, on the other hand, Kevin Harvick does have a really good gap on the cutoff line. So while he's not 100% locked into the next round, it's going to take a lot for him to fall out. It's basically, he's going to have to finish 40th, 39th, something like that, to actually fall out at the Roval, which is possible, again, because nobody knows what's going to happen at the Roval, but it's going to take some very strange circumstances for Kevin Harvick to fall out. And the other interesting thing to note is they're calling for rain right now next weekend, and rain tires are a go for the Cup race. So you throw an unknown like the Roval in with the possibility of rain and rain tires, so they will run in the rain if they need to. This might be the craziest race in a long time in the Cup Series because it's the cutoff race. Some guys are going to be trying to throw Hail Marys. Who knows what's going to happen in this race? And we've got some guys here even though they're not in the bottom 4, they can't afford to lose a lot here. Ryan Blaney's only got a 4-point gap on Clint Boyer, and it's amazing to me Clint Boyer is in the bottom 4 right now, but he didn't have a great night last night in Richmond, did not have a great race in Vegas, so he's sitting 4 points below the cutoff right now. Ryan Blaney doesn't have much breathing room. Alex Bowman's sitting only a point above him. Alex Bowman's only got 5 points to the cutoff line. Austin Dillon's only got a 10-point gap to the cutoff line, as does Chase Elliott. So these guys, they can't afford to lose anything at the Roval, and nobody knows what's going to happen at the Roval. That's what's so exciting to me is you got a lot of guys out here needing to throw some Hail Marys at a race that in any other circumstance you wouldn't even think about throwing a Hail Mary, but they're in a situation where they kind of have to. So that's really exciting to me going into next week as to what are some of these guys going to do at the Roval. It's going to be exciting to watch next weekend. I'm ready for next weekend to be here already. This is a very anticipated race, and I'm ready to get to that. So that's your playoff grid following the Federated Auto Parts 400 at Richmond, and I think that'll do it for this week's Cup Rewind. We do have a pole position. It will be back at its normal time this week. I promise you, 8 p.m. Monday night. Not a lot going on this weekend, admittedly, for the series that we cover. Just this Cup race and the Xfinity race that went up yesterday. There was a rewind show for that, too, so if you missed that, go back and check that out. It'll be linked down below in the description. But again, pole position as usual Monday night, tomorrow night, to quickly catch you up on those if you missed out on all of that. And then we've got all the Roval action coming up next weekend. Our next race that we will be live at the track giving you live coverage will be the ARCA race, the rescheduled event from Lucas Oil Raceway in Indianapolis. That'll be on August 6th. So we got a couple weeks until that, but we'd always have a lot of fun at those races, catching up with everybody and giving you all the big names' thoughts heading into these races. So if you haven't done it already, you need to go down below, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss any of that going forward. And hit that big thumbs up button if you like the video. It is much appreciated when you do. So with that, this has been the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Rewind Show. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.